with any of these active shooter situations, you know, the situation itself dictates what's the right or wrong. You know, but ultimately, you've got to know where the shooter is, because as you know, and I've discussed this before, gunshots fired indoors is super loud and it's omnidirectional. So you have a hard time knowing exactly where the shots are actually coming from. Sometimes they sound like they're coming from the right, but really they're coming from the left. But yeah,
if you've looked at active shooter scenarios in schools and malls and stuff, a lot of times the groups of people were running right towards the dude because they heard gunshots and it reflected off the wall and they ran right into the actual shooter. So very good point for sure. Yeah,
so freezing up is never a good idea in a survival situation. Stay low to the ground, and finding cover gives you a better chance of survival than freezing up and being an easy target. So you stay low and you get moving. So next, do you A, get behind a large rack of food in order to hide from the shooter, or B, stay low, zigzag over to one of those freestanding meat coolers?
I'll go with the meat coolers. I'd probably have a little bit more, cover there, and a better. I would try to position myself to be in a dominant position over the shooter, and wherever he's positioned. You don't want to get up behind a soft cover in a scenario like that, because bullets go through bread quick. Cover
versus concealment, right? So bread, potato chips, any rack of food is not going to stop bullets, though it will hide you from the bad guy. Now cover is anything that stops bullets. So for those of you listening, you always want to choose cover over concealment, because cover will still hide you, but it stops bullets. Like, a freezer full of frozen meat will certainly stop some bullets. But the bread shelf will not. So cover versus concealment. Always look for
just
cover. Like
a car door too. People forget you can shoot right through a car door, man, easy. So get behind that engine block, get behind the wheel. Well, get behind something that's hardened, because people have a misconception of what bullets can do. A 9mm will cleanly go through a door of the car.
It sure will.
So that's something you got to think about when you're in that scenario for sure.
You can take the hanger that says "Do Not Disturb." You put it on your doorknob, and just before the door meets the door frame, go ahead and allow that hanger to slip inside between the door and the door frame as the door closes. So basically, what it looks like to the third parties is that the sign was kind of swinging as you close the door, and it got hung up between the door and the door frame. The beautiful thing about this is it's a trap. And you and I, we both love traps. I mean, it's just kind of cool, the different things you can do to increase your awareness as you approach your own hotel room door. So if you've put that sign on your doorknob and you let it catch in the door, and then the next time you come back, it's hanging freely, immediately it's telling you, like, okay, I got to pay attention when I go inside, right? What other traps do you think are pretty cool for hotel room doors or in hotel rooms generally?
Any precise measurement, opening and you may have covered it in one of the 100 Deadly Skills, opening a closet door, but leaving it precisely the width of a dime or a quarter open. So anyone that opens it, there's no way they're going to be able to get it precisely. Any little thing like that. I believe the key is, are you under surveillance in the room, and can you do it in somewhat an effortless way? Mm-hmm. Because if you lay too many traps and the bad guys see you, well, then clearly they're going to know you have something to hide, which is going to bring them to put every resource they have against you. So trying to do it deftly without drawing more surveillance, I think, is a bigger challenge.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's going back a little bit on some of your comments. I think the best traps are natural to your environment. You're not bringing something in like what you see in the movies, a piece of tape, attached to the door and the door frame. That piece of tape stands out. That piece of tape says you're trying to catch someone. Whereas the hair off your head, and it happens to fall off the doorknob, wherever you place it, that's more natural to the environment. Dust is natural to the environment. And discrete alignment, like what you're talking about, using a quarter, a coin, or even your thumb. Your thumb width is great for drawers, for closets, for doors. And the other thing is if you're under surveillance in that room, you don't want to be obvious, because if you are, that could bring on a lot more scrutiny than you'd want. And so you've got to do everything as if you're just, I'm unpacking my suitcase, I'm opening drawers, I'm closing them. Thumb. No one's going to see that on camera, that you just left your thumb in the drawer before it closed all the way. Same thing with the closet. And then same thing when you're leaving your room and you let that thing swing slightly, close the door, gets trapped, and that becomes your first alarm to pay attention when you go in your room. Okay, back to the scenario. Suddenly a Molotov cocktail comes flying in through your open window. All right? And the mob wants to burn the building down. Do you A, run out of the building and sprint straight for the Honda, or B, do you zigzag your run, keeping your head low as you try to escape?
B.
B. Yes, this is correct. And zigzag. So it's important to note, when you zigzag or run sporadically, it forces shooters and bad guys to change their elevation and windage, especially with rifles, pistols, whatever, anything with sights or optics. Which makes you a harder target to hit, and that's the goal. Be a hard target. So with all the active shooting, mass shootings going on, and you've got to run a long stretch of terrain, and you don't have any cover to run to, and you find yourself in the open, run sporadically, run like an idiot, moving all over the place, it makes it a lot more difficult for the shooter to get accurate bullets in your back. So you get to the Honda. Luckily, the key works, all right? And you drive it out onto the road to get out of Dodge when the mob forms a human roadblock ahead, okay?
You know what I'm going to do.
Do you, A, floor it and hope that they get out of the way, and if they don't, oh well, or B, slow to a stop at least 20 feet back from the mob?
Yeah, I'm gunning it like I'm in the fucking Ferrari. No two ways about it. I'm human bowling at that point.
Human bowling, I like it. Now, so here's the deal. If it's a Ferrari, you probably get away with it because that's like driving, a door wedge, right? It's just going to ramp everybody up over the hood, and you're probably going to make it through the crowd. But with a Honda, you might end up doing a whole high axle issue, right? Just like, zombie movies. You run over enough zombies, your wheels are up off the ground, spinning in place, and you're getting nowhere fast. So, even though you got that wrong, I got to take that out. -10. You go ahead and decide to stop ahead of the human roadblock, all right? So, A, you floor it up onto a curb and go around, or B, you put the car in reverse and execute a reverse 180 and just go the other way.
B for sure. If it's a shoddy enough vehicle to get high centered on a human being, a curb's going to really fuck it up. So,
yeah, I agree. I mean, you're taking chances. If it's a beat up Honda, you really don't know what the tire status is, all that kind of crap. And so to put any more obstacles in front of those tires is probably not a good idea. And if any of you out there want to practice 180s, I mean, there's a couple of tricks to this. To a reverse 180 is literally you put it in reverse, and you're going to look back into the direction in which you want to go, and you're going to give it gas, and then you're going to run that steering wheel all the way around so that you can flip that hood 180 degrees with your ass towards the angry mob. And in the middle of all that, whether it's a stick or whether it's an automatic, you got to shift from reverse into neutral so that it glides, and then into drive once your nose is forward. So reverse 180s, they take some practice, but they're actually pretty easy and effective, and you can usually do it. If you do it properly and get good, you can do it in one lane of space, believe it or not. And so the other takeaway with that, if you're going to go practice this in a parking lot near you, make sure all your tires are aired up approximately 5 psi over max. It's important that those tires are hard as a rock and 100% fixated to that wheel rim, because if you roll the tire, If you roll the tire over the rim, well, now you got flat tires and you are shit out of luck. So make sure your tires are always.
I'd still run all of them over.
Yeah. Let's just see what happens. You know, when you talk about black bears versus brown bears are much more aggressive. So you've lucked out by getting the black bear, because getting loud and getting big works effectively on them. Waving your arms, steady stream of, hey bear, hey bear, hey bear, you know, get out of here, yelling at them, letting them know that you kind of own your piece of land, and hopefully they shoo away. This would not be recommended if it was a brown bear or a grizzly, because they may actually challenge you. Unlike a black bear, for the most part, they tend to go, okay, I'm just going to be a big rodent and get the hell out of here. Mm-hmm. For the listeners, being loud and moving through the woods can often keep the bears away from you from the get-go, right? If you're just talking to yourself, talking out loud, making lots of noise, most of your wildlife goes, fuck it, I don't want to know what that is, and they just kind of move on without ever seeing you and you never seeing them. But I'll stop there and, give the other variation with black bears.
So black bears are often, as long as they're not like emaciated or injured, are much more afraid of us than we are of them.
Yeah.
Two is if we're 70 feet away, their eyesight isn't that great, but their sense of smell and their sense of hearing is pretty good. So chances are they heard me rather than see me. And so I don't want to target identify myself unless I absolutely have to. Likelihood is that bear is going to look over to see if I'm a threat, and then it's going to look down. And as soon as it looks away, I'm going to start retreating some more. But to your point, if that bear noticed me and started coming towards me, then I would go option A and make myself as big and as prominent and as fearsome as I could.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. They're like dogs. They can smell three-dimensionally, and with that good hearing, they know exactly where you are.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, you can be behind a tree, and they're still going to know you're behind a tree.
But there's a big difference between a bear, like, feeding, just going,
right,
and like making an overt turn towards you.
Without a doubt. And I would say, too, the situation, if you've got your family with you versus you're by yourself, or with a mama bear with her cubs or by herself, also play a big role in the decision-making process.
Huge.
You're listening to Can You Survive This podcast? Thanks for tuning in. Please make sure to subscribe, rate, and share on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your favorite shows.